So, how many of you have played a board or card game? Cool, it's totally relatable. I'm Marc, and this is an informational speech of Wizard of the Coast. So, I'm going to talk kind of about the history around the whole company, what makes this company really awesome, and then what they're currently doing. So, what are these Wizards of the Coast, as many of you should wonder? Essentially, Wizards of the Coast are they're part of Hasbro, created in 1991, I believe. And this is a very, very small list of their products. The Grand Military War Game of Axis and Allies, Legendary Tabletop RPG, Dungeons and Dragons RPG role-playing game, and the Mystic trading card game, Magic the Gathering, as well as other D20 series. So, the history surrounding it. D&D was founded by Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax in 1974. The two were about 30 years old whenever they created this game. And it's interesting because Gary Gygax had two kids, and he would play the game with them and actually tell stories with this and see how it's kind of flexible throughout ages. It was originally published by Tactical Study Rules Incorporated. And the interesting thing, whenever it was made in 1974, by 1980, there was about 3 million players, like worldwide, which shows that it kind of grew ginormously. And then it approximately was like played by teens to 30-year-olds. And that gave kind of a huge player range. Wizards of the Coast picked up D&D in like 1993. And these are many of their literary influences creating the fantasy world that we know of D&D. You can read off the list and see all the interesting authors that vary throughout sci-fi and fantasy to horror, etc. Axis and Allies, on the other hand, was originally made by Larry Harris and originally published by Nova Games, but later on picked up by Wizards of the Coast. What is good about these games? It's kind of funny. Studies have shown that D&D creates a social environment that uses creative mathematics and problem solving and in some ways acting. Magic the Gathering helps with observant behavior as well as trying to accomplish major or minor goals. And Axis and Allies tries to depict a political, economic, and social history of World War II, but recently they branched out to also World War I, Civil War, and Vietnam War. It's a very interesting kind of historical political conflict. And these games help construct overall tactics and strategy with or without your teammates, which helps team build in some way. And other reasons to play. These are interesting because it's hours of fun, sparks interest in literature, literary movements, short stories, or novels. And the rules can be bent however you want, like house rules, and that can help with creative flexibility within the game. Wizards of the Coast today. Even though Wizards of the Coast have the rights of many of these games, they honor the original makers of the game and try to explore the dynamics and continually try to create newer innovations to these games that help the modern generation, because they got the rights in the 90s, so obviously there was a huge gap in generation. And then, I've entered all these points, and these are most of the questions that people ask about this company. And so far, it's kind of concluded that this Wizards of the Coast grab games and try to morph them into a more easy to grab entertainment. And then, thank you for listening. Sources. Who? Done. Questions?
What's a D20 series?
D20 series, so there are multiple dice, like multiple-sided die. There's D10, D6,
okay.
D4, and a D20 is 20-sided die, and it's
Okay.
a game that uses basically percentile in a D20 format.
Okay.
Any other questions?
How do you play these?
Yes, actually. I've been playing D&D for the past almost 10 years. 3.0 though, that one is really good. 3.0 and 3.5. 4.0 is more related to the current gaming generation of like World of Warcraft and stuff like that. I recently got into Magic the Gathering, like extremely recently, last semester, and Action and Allies, I absolutely adore it. And the many, many scenarios you can make, I love history, and it helps kind of like try to show the conflicts and how they could have been resolved in World War II.
Interesting.
Any other questions?
How factual is that then?
They actually try to make it extremely factual. They have, wait, actually give me a second. There's a picture. There. So this is the German-Russian border, and like this is a whole division of bombers, while this is like a giant platoon with like anti-air, so they can shoot down bombers. So they try to represent, like with these little figures, a large amount of people. And I find that extremely interesting, especially since they, unlike Risk, they show like troops, tanks, artillery, factories can construct units, bombs, submarines, all of that. And actually, an interesting thing about Wizards of the Coast, they actually own the rights for Risk as well, and they try to modify it to a lot of other things. Also, another interesting thing about Wizards of the Coast, they own Pokemon, the trading card series.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Are you interested in gaming? I mean, as a profession?
Kind of like a side thing. My friend and I are currently writing a RPG as well as a tabletop game, and it's like kind of like we like to create a world within this